Today, I will be showing you the best 4-2-2-2 manager PES Mobile has to offer. Defensively solid, fantastic win play, lethal central attacks, and overall unpredictability. Your attacks will almost be unstoppable. A perfect response to the meta 4-3-1-2. This is the manager review of d.culebras, Marcelino, manager of Athletic Bilbao. Let's go. So yes guys, this is the manager review that a lot of you have been waiting for. You saw my social media updates on Instagram about the post about how I made it to 1,400 rating. Yes, I'm now revealing the manager that got me there, and it is d.culebras. As I said, his real life name is Marcelino. He's the current manager of Athletic Bilbao, and the great thing about this formation, it's still available in the store. The formation hasn't changed, so you guys can go cop this manager in the market. So this is basically how I've lined up. He's a very good manager. He is so solid for me, and I'm really loving it. I'm really loving using this manager. It's so defensively solid, and I'm able to attack from the wings, in the middle. I can attack anywhere, and I can do it with such ease. And I have the knowledge that my defense is somewhat secure, and that's what makes me feel better about going online, that I know that I won't make as many defensive mistakes, or I won't concede as many goals. So you get matches like this, and other stuff like that. So that's just how I really see this manager. He's extremely good for me. I really hope he's gonna be very good for you. So I just want to go through how I set up of course you won't have all of these players that I'm showing you right now, but what I want to do, I want to give you all the players that I think are best suited for this manager, as well as giving alternatives to these players that you may not have. So of course we have the first and probably most important position, and that is the goalkeeper. So of course there's not really much I need to advise on this. Just use any goalkeeper you trust, any goalkeeper that you have, any goalkeeper that you feel better with. You can go ahead and use him. For me, that's Czech, and it might be different for you, but yeah, use any keeper that you like. It just has to be 188 thereabout and above. That's what I suggest for the ideal height of a goalkeeper that you trust. But as I said, use whatever goalkeeper you trust. That's fine. So the next position I want to talk about is the left back position. So of course I use Maldini. He's an offensive fullback, but he's the best offensive fullback defensively. So of course there are balanced ones like Irwin and Lizarazu, but some suggested players I'd use like Tierney, the featured Tierney, or even the featured Ferland Mendy. They give a decent balance, so I would suggest those as alternatives to Maldini. So what's next now is very crucial. It's a centre-back pairing. For me, that's Sol Campbell and Clusterman, for quite obvious reasons if you have been playing the game for a considerable amount of time. But for those who are relatively new to the game, I'd suggest for you two defenders. That one is a build-up and the other is a destroyer. So the build-up will be able to drop deep and collect the ball, and the destroyer will stay up a bit higher and apply a lot of pressure and use aggressive prowess. So I'll be listing some center backs that you can use in your center back pairing. So off to right back. So at right back I use Kimmich. Kimmich is very, very good. He really helps me defensively and offensively, and you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. He is very, very good. If you have Kimmich, I suggest you use him at right back. But if not, if you use a defensive fullback like Lucas Hernandez on the left, then you can use an offensive fullback like Serginho Dest on the right. However, if you do use an offensive fullback, I really suggest you use a defensive fullback or another offensive fullback that is really, really good defensively, like a Maldini, because it really isn't good to have two offensive fullbacks that push up, because it leaves a lot of space around the back that two defenders really cannot cover. So yes, that is pretty much it for the back line. So now we're moving on to the midfield. So I have two defensive midfielders, and I think these two are a very good pairing that I think you should use. It's Rijkaard and Gilberto Silva. So of course, an anchorman in Gilberto Silva helps to solidify the defense. He can drop deep between the center backs and help to intercept the ball and start counterattacks. So that's one of the reasons why I use Gilberto Silva or any anchorman. So any player, defensive midfielder that you have that is an anchorman, I really suggest that you use him. So next up is the player right beside him who does more of the offensive work of being able to link that defense and attack. So who I use, of course, is Rijkaard. I got him for free at the beginning of PES 2021 as a replacement card. But yes, that is the player that I think you should use, a player that knows how to pass well, find through balls, who can link the defense and the attack. I will be leaving alternative players that you can use for that role in your formation. So up next are the wide midfielders, and these are pretty self-explanatory. You have Lionel Messi, of course. Who else would you want? He is absolutely fantastic. That's all I have to say about him. He's pretty self-explanatory. Anybody that's really a roaming flank, someone that's pacey, can do a job passing, you can use him. Of course, now to the left side, it's a bit more complicated, because if you don't have Nedved, sometimes it might not necessarily work out. But if you have like box to box Matthias or something, you can use him as well. Or even the orchestrator Matthias, he should be able to work. So that's something that can happen for you. You can even use a prolific winger like Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati can do really well. He can do really well on those wings. So you should have quite a bit of players. I don't think I'll have to be listing any alternatives. Of course, there's Kulusevski's featured card that you can use, Dembele, etc. So you should really have a very good idea on what you want to use for your wingers. For the center forward position, use anybody you trust. Any two center forwards that you have full faith in, you can use. I tend to use Denisla and Romario for start, or sometimes even Kluivert and Romario, or Kluivert and Denisla, depending on form. But it's all up to you. The forward line is all up to you. Whatever you want to use can be used. As long as it works for you, you can go ahead and use it. I tend to use goal poacher, fox in the box, and even target man when necessary. As you can see, my bench, I have Ansu Fati, Lothar Matthäus. As you can see, I can use Lautaro Martinez for backup if needed. I have Davinson Sanchez on the bench for backup center backs. Also, there's Haaland, of course, Erling Haaland, and a special creative playmaker, Nakata. If you don't really have him, you can use Neymar if you want. Of course, Kluivert, yeah, I can use him. Sometimes he drops deep to help feed the other striker who's beside him. It's really all up to you. Whatever two center forwards that you have full trust in, you can use them. Whatever center forwards or whatever players you want to put on the bench, you go ahead and use. Just make sure it's a good balance, like I have Davinson Sanchez there for subs in replacement, Matthias, Ansu Fati, Haaland as a super sub. Just make sure you really get a good balance of what you want on your bench and whatever you want. Yeah, so that's what I really wanted to take you through. This is a really good manager, in all honesty. He's really good. He's so defensively solid. Just use his defensive tactics, especially utilizes defensive tactics, and his counter attacks are very deadly. And when you have players like Nedved, Rijkaard, Matthias, who can really split that defense with certain passes, you can go ahead and you can dominate your opponent, especially those 4-3-1-2 users. It shows itself best against 4-3-1-2. Thank you very much for getting it to this point of the review. I really do hope that I was able to break it down as well as I could for you to understand what players to use, what type of players to use, how to get the best out of this formation, and my entire review on a whole. I really hope that you were able to understand what I was saying, and let me know if you like how I place this video together in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I have gameplay of how I use this formation to score goals up here, and I really hope you enjoyed the review, enjoyed the video, enjoyed what I said, and understand what I said to enjoy the advantages of using a formation like this. Thank you for watching. Playing is believing. Peace.
This bad thing wanna be famous. Step with the white and green like Seamus. Nah, I don't do no favors. Tinted whip and it's full of flavors. Life full of risk, so I might fly Vegas. Me and my girl got matching trainers. Phone up the plug, his name's Andreas. Chop this down, goodness gracious. This bad thing wanna be famous. Step